When you think of the legendary sci-fi author Ursula K. Le Guin, you're probably thinking of wizards, spaceships, maybe some dragons. But what if I told you she was also one of the most important political thinkers of the 20th century? You see, Le Guin did way more than just write stories about anarchism. She grabbed a dusty old philosophy by the collar and just launched it into the future. Okay, so you've got to remember, anarchism was born back in the 19th century. It was a huge idea, but by the time Le Guin was writing, it felt, well, a little bit dated. As the scholar Lewis Call puts it, she literally rescued it. She made it exciting, and more importantly, she made it relevant for a whole new generation that was probably never going to pick up a dusty old book by Kropotkin. And here's the key. She didn't just rehash the old arguments. See, classical anarchism, it was all about fighting the state and capitalism. Le Guin went way, way deeper. She expanded the whole battlefield to include our most basic ideas about gender, reality itself, the very language we speak, and even time. She was asking this incredible question: what if hierarchy is hiding in all these places we never, ever thought to look? Now, to really get why this was so radical, we need to rewind a little bit. Traditional anarchism was a product of the Industrial Revolution, right? So its enemies were pretty clear: the power of the government and the exploitation of capitalism. But by the 1960s, the world was a completely different place. You had the civil rights movement, feminism, all these counterculture revolutions that showed that power wasn't just in a parliament building or on a factory floor. No, it was in our relationships, our culture, our identities, even in the words we used. The old anarchist toolkit, it just wasn't going to cut it anymore. And this is where Le Guin just explodes onto the scene. In this unbelievable 5-year burst of creativity, she published 3 novels that took anarchism apart, piece by piece, and rebuilt it for a brand new era. This was the moment anarchism took what we call its postmodern turn. First up, she took on gender. In her 1969 masterpiece, The Left Hand of Darkness, she dares to imagine a world where the power structures we build around male and female just don't exist. And this is what we can call the anarchy of gender. It's this powerful idea that if we really want to be free, we have to question not just who rules us, but the deep-down binary categories we use to define our very selves. So Le Guin's novel asks this brilliant what if. The people on the planet Gethin are androgynous for most of the month, but once a month, they enter this phase called Kemmer, where they temporarily and randomly take on male or female traits. For them, gender isn't some fixed identity. It's just a brief biological event. And the results of this? They are absolutely profound. On Geffen, rape is biologically impossible. The entire planet has never had a major war, and in maybe the most stunning flip of all, their word for a pervert is someone like us, a person who is stuck in one gender for their entire life. I mean, wow, it just shows how changing one core concept can ripple out and transform everything. Okay, so as if taking on gender wasn't enough, just 2 years later, Le Guin went even further. This time, she decided to question something even more fundamental than gender: reality itself. In The Lathe of Heaven, we meet this guy George Orr. He's a pretty simple dude with this terrifying, incredible power. His dreams, which he calls effective dreams, don't just reflect the world, they retroactively rewrite it. So when he wakes up, reality has changed, and he's the only one who remembers how it used to be. Now, his psychiatrist, the very rational Dr. Haber, doesn't see this as a curse. Oh no. He sees it as the ultimate tool. He thinks he can use science and pure logic to guide George's dreams and, just solve all the world's problems. Overpopulation, war, racism, you name it. It's the ultimate rationalist utopian fantasy. And this introduces this really wild concept: ontological anarchy. Think about it. If the very fabric of reality, the ontology, can be changed, then no law, no government, no power structure can ever claim to be natural or permanent. It means everything is up for grabs. Of course, Dr. Haber's attempts to control reality always go horribly wrong, creating even bigger problems. The book's message, which is deeply rooted in Taoism, is that true wisdom isn't about controlling the world from above. It's about realizing that we are part of its constant, messy, beautiful flow. We don't have power over the world. We can only change it because we are the world. And that brings us to 1974, and to Le Guin's most famous anarchist novel, The Dispossessed. And here, she drops 2 final radical ideas on us, starting with the very words we speak. So, on the anarchist moon of Honoris, the founders wanted to make sure their society stayed true to its principles. And they didn't just do that by writing a new constitution. No, they invented a whole new language called Provic. They understood this very postmodern idea that your language doesn't just describe your reality, it builds it. Check out how this works. In Provic, kids learn to say the mother, not my mother, basically baking anti-possessiveness right into the grammar. The language literally has no word for property. And maybe my favorite part, it uses the exact same word for both work and play, which makes the whole capitalist split between the two, well, literally unthinkable. But Le Guin, she saved her biggest, most profound challenge for last. And you don't find it in the politics of the novel. You find it in the physics, in a radical new theory of time. The hero of the book, a physicist named Chevek, is wrestling with two totally opposite views of time. On the one hand, you've got sequency. That's time as a straight arrow, always moving forward. It gives us progress, change, creation. On the other hand, you have simultaneity. That's time as a circle, a repeating cycle that provides order and meaning. Now, our modern Western minds, we're desperate to just pick one, right? To say one is true and the other is false. But Shivek's trying to do something way, way harder. He wants to create a theory that doesn't choose, that doesn't compromise, but that holds both of those contradictory ideas in his mind at the exact same time. And this is the breathtaking climax of her political thinking. The answer isn't a simple compromise. It's a permanent tension. It's learning to live in the perpetual embrace of ideas that contradict each other without needing one simple final answer. That right there is the very soul of postmodern anarchism. So, there you have it. In just 5 years, Le Guin took anarchism from being a critique of governments and economics and turned it into a radical subversion of our most basic assumptions about identity, reality, language, and even time itself. In the end, Le Guin's real gift wasn't replacing the old anarchism. It was putting it into a permanent, challenging, and ongoing conversation with all these new, deeper questions. She made sure the philosophy wouldn't just become a museum piece, but would stay a vital tool for thinking about freedom in our own complicated, messy, postmodern world. Which really just leaves us with one last question to chew on. Her work teaches us that maybe the most rigid hierarchies aren't out there in our governments, but inside our own heads. She gave us new tools to see them. The only question now is, where should we point them next?